Welcome everyone. In today's video, I wanted to do a Perpetual Futures DEX review of GMX. Now, GMX is one of the top Perpetual Futures DEXs out there. In fact, it's rivaling DYDX in terms of open interest, and it's definitely the most popular Perpetual Futures DEX to use on Arbitrum. So I thought I'd take a look today, check out what all of the hype was, and so on and so forth, as well as just showing you around the platform and what it can do. So GMX is pretty basic in its functionality. You can go long or short with leverage, as well as doing basic swaps here on GMX. So GMX serves as a basic DEX and Perpetual Futures DEX at the same time, which is pretty cool. But if we just get into this here, I'm going to use some USDT today, and we're going to be longing $200 worth of ETH. So I'm just showing you the process. So we have a leverage slider here, which we can turn on, and then you can go all the way up to 50x leverage, which is pretty crazy, and it's a big bonus for something like GMX to have 50x leverage. I think a lot of people aren't a fan of these high leverage amounts, but effectively what it means is that you can still trade with a large sum of money without putting your entire stack onto GMX, because we know a lot of these things in crypto, they get exploited or hacked, and so you could lose all of your money. But if you wanted to play it safe, you could deposit, say, 2% of your stack here on GMX and then trade with 50x leverage. And then it would be effectively the same as trading your entire stack there. Of course, using 50x leverage means that, you're likely to get liquidated faster. So you can obviously use a lot less leverage. So for this example, let's just try get this to 2x leverage. And then we can see that I'm using USDT as collateral, but you can use various other different assets as well. So ETH, Arbtirum, Bitcoin, Link, Uniswap, and then 4 other stablecoins here as well. So USDT, DAI, and Frax. But I'll talk more about this later on in the video. Just little tips and tricks that can save you a little bit of money when using GMX. So let's just take a look here. So this is my entry price, my borrow fee. So this is effectively like funding rates, and then this is the available liquidity, a max ETH long capacity. So this is how much people can actually long ETH, and then this is how much is currently long. So that's 57 million out of the 73 million that's actually available. Now I'll talk about that a little bit later on, because I think that's one of the flaws of GMX, is that it's not super scalable. But I'll just show you how to go long on GMX first. So we just get your basic confirmation page here. It'll just show you some information, entry price, liquidation price, and fees. So if I press along here, I'll get a MetaMask notification. So let me just press confirm. And there we go. We've opened up an ETH long. So if you've never used GMX before, you have to approve USDT to be used by GMX. So you might have to go through the MetaMask pop-up, I think twice, before you can actually get your long to go through. And so if I wanted to close out this position, I could just go into short and then do the opposite trade here. But I'm just gonna press close. So this is the easy way to close out any longs on GMX. I'm just going to press max here, but if you didn't want to close the entire amount, you could do $100, $50, so on and so forth. But if I just press max here, that will be fine. And then I can press close, and that will cost me 55 cents to do so. Press confirm. And there we go, no more long positions open. A couple of cool features that GMX has that a lot of other Perpetual Futures DEXs don't have at this stage, which is quite surprising to me, is stuff like market orders, limit orders, and trigger orders. So these are take profits and stop loss orders, which I think are pretty cool. I think they might be a bit difficult to implement on chain, which is why a lot of Perpetual Futures DEXs don't actually have them. If we just click onto the Earn tab here, we can explore GMX just a little bit further. So what's cool about GMX is that you can take the native token, the GMX token, and then stake it for an APR. Now, this will come in the form of escrowed GMX. So effectively, this is GMX that is locked up, and then you won't be able to sell right away. If you wanted to sell that escrow GMX, you'd have to go down here to vest, and then that's where you unlock that GMX, and that GMX is unlocked every second for a year. And so you won't receive that total amount of GMX rewards until like the end of the year. So if you are going to stake your GMX, you have to be in it for the long haul. I know a lot of other places will give like a, maybe a 15-day lockup or a 30-day lockup, but GMX, they want to incentivize people being here for the long haul. So they do a 365-day lockup. Now we also have here GLP. So the way that GMX actually works is that people trade against the pool of assets, which is known as GLP. So this is the GMX liquidity provider token. So effectively what happens is that there is a basket of Ethereum, wrapped Bitcoin, Chainlink, Uniswap, and these 4 stable coins that people trade against. And so the amount of open interest available on GMX is limited by how much of a certain asset is in the GLP that can be traded against at any one time. But I'll go into this a little bit further on in the video when I talk about some of the possible improvements to GMX, because I think this is something that is limiting the platform currently and should be resolved at some point in the future. But now I just wanted to go into some cool tools that can be used for GMX if you want to make this your primary perpetual futures DEX on Arbitrum. So we have gmx.house. So here is a leaderboard of all of the top traders. So if I click on just the 1 month tab here, we can see that one guy's made $2.5 million in the past month. This guy's almost 1 million, and then quite a few people making a lot of money here. Now, this could be good or bad depending on who you are. If you're a trader, this is good. So if you're a GLP holder, this is bad because GLP holders make money from fees, and they also make money when traders lose money. So if traders are winning big, then it means the pool of GLP goes down, and then you could actually lose money over time if too many people are making too much money. But generally, when the market is bullish and people are making money long, you don't have to worry too much because the assets in GLP are rising as well. You don't really have to worry about like GLP getting wiped out. If someone opens up like a monster ETH or Bitcoin short, and then Ethereum or Bitcoin like drop 50% in like 2 weeks, then you might get wiped out. But for the most part, you should be fine. So you can actually just go ahead and click on this person's account. And then when we click on 1 month, we can see all of the trades that they have made for the past month. So we can see here where they went long, where they went short. So this guy, he bought low and then just kept adding on to that position and then finally closed out the position there. So basically you can just stalk all of the greatest traders on GMX. We have another tool here, which is GMX staking. And so you can calculate how much that you can receive in APR when you're staking your GMX tokens. And then lastly, I just wanted to explore this Twitter thread here. I think it's quite useful. So this is a thread for saving on funding fees at GMX. So I'll just go through it here. GMX funding is directly proportional to the utilization rate. So if 70% of the given collateral is being used, you're going to pay 70% APR in funding. However, if it's 30%, your APR will be 30%. So you can look at the current utilization rates for stablecoins in GLP here. So USDC is 30%, Tether is 37%, DAI 23%, and Frax 9%. So how does this, affect the average person? How does this affect you when you're using GMX? So as you can see, the utilization rates vary all the way from 9.6% to 37%. So you can actually pay 75% less in funding fees by using Frax as collateral rather than USDT. So we can see here, DAI is the collateral, and it's the borrow fee that you have here is 0.0023% per hour. When we have Frax, it's 0.0009%, USDC 0.003%, and then for USDT it's 0.0037%. So that's something that you'll have to keep in mind when using GMX, is that these funding rates can vary wildly depending on utilization, and that if you see USDT or USDC being used a lot as collateral there, you might want to switch off to something like DAI or Frax. I think for the most part, Frax is always going to be the lowest utilization because not a lot of people use Frax as base collateral anywhere. And now for the next part of the video, I just wanted to mention there are a couple places where you can actually take GLP and then stake it elsewhere, and they will do delta neutral staking for you. And so you won't have any price exposure to the underlying assets, so like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Uniswap, and Chainlink. It's basically a stablecoin yield farm. So you have a GMD protocol, so that you can see here the total value locked and the total revenue distributed here. So that's how much has gone out to stakers in the GMD protocol. And then we also have Rage Trade's Delta Neutral Vault, in which they have two. So they have a risk on vault and a risk off vault. So the risk on vault is basically just exposure to GLP, but it's delta neutral hedged. And then we also have the risk off one, which basically just gets its yield from leveraged yield farming on Aave, and then some ETH rewards from GLP as well. And so just going through GMX, I just wanted to talk about what I thought was good and what could potentially have some more improvements on in the future. So what I really like about GMX is that it uses different collateral types. You're able to use ETH, Bitcoin, Chainlink, Uniswap as base collateral to trade against, which is awesome. I think all Perpetual Futures Dexs should allow for different base collateral types. I know that a lot won't, because it's hard to liquidate, certain collateral, but if you're using, at least ETH, have at least ETH as, collateral that you can trade against, because there are a lot of ETH maximalists out there, whales who only hold ETH, and I'm sure they'd be glad to be able to trade against that and use it as base collateral. Additionally, another positive to GMX is that there are no website restrictions and it doesn't require a VPN to use. So with something like DYDX, which I consider to be a superior product to GMX, it's actually region locked. So if you're from like the US, for example, you can't use DYDX without using a VPN. And then if you don't VPN this one time, they'll lock you out, and then you'll have to force withdrawal from DYDX. So that's not ideal. So I think that's why a lot of people will use GMX over DYDX, is simply because of they don't want to have to mess with a VPN, or potentially have their positions frozen if they get caught using a VPN. And so I think, when DYDX v3 comes out and they don't have that anymore, I think a lot more people will migrate off of GMX in the future, but it's a big positive that it has right now. Additionally, what I really love about GMX is that they have a fee sharing model. It really actually just brings a community of bag holders together when you're actually getting real yield, and it also builds support around the community, and people will want to do stuff for GMX and they'll want to purely trade there because some of their trading fees will come back to them. Additionally, what I really love about GMX is that it's transparent. As we can see here on the leaderboard, you can see everyone's positions that are open. You can copy what the top traders are doing, and you can see if the protocol is in trouble. If you see someone's got a monster short opened up and Ethereum and Bitcoin are tanking, then it might be a wise idea to get off GMX before things start crashing. So that's what I really like about GMX. So let's talk about some possible improvements for GMX. So one thing that I think it really needs to improve is the fact that it has a lack of trading pairs. So you've got ETH, Bitcoin, Chainlink, and Uniswap, and that just isn't enough. We need basically all economically relevant layer ones to be traded. I don't mind if you don't have stuff like Sheeb or ApeCoin or Synapse or just random altcoins like that. They need to have stuff like Solana, Avalanche, Cardano, the big economically relevant layer ones. I need to be able to trade on a Perpetual Futures Dex, and it would definitely lead to GMX growing more in the future. Now, going on from that, for them to be able to actually introduce more trading pairs, they're going to need to leave the GLP model. So with the GLP model currently, you have to deposit these amount of assets for it to actually work. And so one reason why you haven't seen more tradable assets on GMX is because they'd need to adjust the GLP to add another asset. Now, I think that would be a massive pain in order to do so, and I think they'd rather introduce a new GLP in order to do so, but I don't think that's actually what they're going to do. I think from all the chatter that I've heard from earlier on this year and last year, that they're going to be introducing a new model similar to something like you see on Gains Market, where you can stake DAI into a pool. and then traders will trade against that pool of DAI, and so it will be synthetically done. So you won't actually be trading with ETH, Bitcoin, Chainlink, or Uniswap. You'll be trading with basically just synthetic contracts, which is standard across, you know, various other perpetual futures dexes and perpetual futures trading in general. But just talking more generally about GLP, I think this is a flawed model in the sense that it does cap the growth of GMX, because you can only have a certain amount of open interest on GMX, and then once that has reached the limit, you can't open any new positions on GMX, which is a problem if you want people to start migrating off of Binance, off of Coinbase, off of Bybit, all of those various other different places. If you want them to start trading on a place like GMX, you can't have a cap on how much people can actually trade, right? You know, so it'd be probably a little bit more ideal if they went to an order book style DEX. Pair trading is something that I think should be really cool for perpetual futures dexes to have. So it'd be cool if you could trade ETH BTC as a perpetual futures contract, or like ETH Solana or Avalanche Cardano, something like that. And so that's something that I'd love to see in the future. And lastly, I think you should be able to customize the UI on GMX. The fact that you can't do this is quite surprising, because basically every other perpetual futures dex I've used, you can customize the UI. I mean, you can add different indicators to the trading view chart here, but who's really using GMX as a place to do your charting, right? It's easier to just go to trading view to do that, but you can't change, where this goes, where this goes, where this goes. That's just a quality of life thing and doesn't really affect GMX as a whole, but it'd be something that I'd like to see in the future. And so just to round off this video, I want to say that GMX is a good DEX to use. It's quite reliable. It's not really had that many problems, and I think it's probably one of the best places to go on Arbitrum, and it has a long ways to go. It's like there's too many buttons that you have to press to confirm a trade. Trades don't go through quickly. The layout is just quite simple, and then a bunch of the other improvements that I suggested earlier on should probably be implemented at some point if you just want to make this DEX better. I still like it, and I think the reason why it gets a lot of use right now is purely because of the fact that it was one of the first perpetual futures dexes on Arbitrum, and it didn't really have any website restrictions, so Americans could go ahead and use it and then start talking about it to other people in the crypto ecosystem. So overall, I still like GMX as a perpetual futures dex, but I think in the future, I'll give a ranking of all of these perpetual futures dexes. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one.